Welcome back, everybody, to Double Dip Family Feud. I am your host, Food, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers. You know, we have got just such a treat for you tonight here on Double Dip Family Feud. Joining me, stepping up to the bat, is White Loaf. White Loaf, top 5 answers are on the board. Tell me, what is a division where the opposite of what happens is what you'd expect to happen? Yes.
Magma?
You said Magma. Show me Magma! It's Magma! Woohoo! Yeah!
I scared my cat doing that.
Oh, sorry. Hello, and welcome back to the final week of Double Dip Draft Season 8. This is week 7 of the Magma Division recap. I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me, as always,
is White Loaf, coach of the Bayou Belly Bolts.
And woohoo! Yeah, this, as we may have led on by our impeccably acted and well-timed and very thoroughly thought-out intro, this week was pretty bonkers. A lot of stuff went a little sideways this week in Magma Division, and it's got big playoffs implications because going into this week, we're looking at a very competitive race between basically second through 5th place.
Yeah, no, it is do or die time for a lot of people. You know, top 2 is pretty secure, though obviously, like, their placements can be, like, messed around with depending on, like, who wins, who loses. But they're at least, like, guaranteed playoffs. But a lot of people are fighting just for the opportunity to get into playoffs at this point.
Right, because, you know, Bootman looking pretty comfortable sitting at 5-1 right now. You know, worst he can do is 5-2, and you'll see a lot of people, you know, stand to potentially go up to 5-2. You know, obviously it's possible that both Kenneth and Cabral lose their matches and both stay at 4-3. But even if they do rise to 5-2, like, it would take a pretty substantial loss from Spootman to level the playing field, coupled with a pretty substantial win from either of those players.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Speaking of which, we have got, first on the docket, we've got Spootman, coach of the Heerlen Hawluchas, facing off against Eevee, the coach of the Puppytown Ponytas. And as we were just saying, looking at the bracket going into this, or the division standings, you know, Spootman looking very comfortable. He's brought this Sand team very, very far, sitting at 5-1. You really can't do much worse than that.
No, you cannot.
Well, you can't do much better than that. You can definitely do a lot worse than that. Sorry. That's silly.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was
my
like,
bad. You can do a lot worse than that. You can do a lot worse than that.
You can go 0-6 right now in theory, but you know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, so far, you know, like the Terra, like Aggron has been helping out a lot. Terra Cradley has also been a huge help. Puppytown Ponytas, you know, on the other hand, like, they've had some real high highs and some real low lows.
Yeah,
they're. I think at this point, I don't think there is even a chance they could make playoffs.
No, she's out. Because the best that she could do going into this, I think she can end it at 2 wins, which would just not be enough to break even into the top half.
Yeah. At this point, it is all about pride. And I mean, like, Rotom looks really strong in this team. Even Mega Scizor honestly looks pretty strong. You get rid of Dragozolt. And there's not a lot of things that really resist the combination of Bullet Punch and Superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Or does Scizor get close combat? I forget.
It's Superpower that it runs.
Yeah. I feel like I got close combat this generation, but I don't remember.
I'm actually not familiar with that. I mean, it might have. Either way, I mean, it really, fundamentally, it doesn't change, which is, you know, Steel and fighting coverage goes crazy into this team. And we're seeing, like, again, this is sort of the nature of Vincent's draft, is it's incredibly weak to a couple of types, and he's got his answers to those types, you know, but, like, looking at his team is very volatile, right? Dracozolt is his only steel resist, and he's got a lot of steel weakness here with these rock types that he's bringing, you know? Obviously, Aggron isn't going to love, without having Terra taking a fighting move. And really, I mean, like you mentioned with Rotom, it should be noted again that there's a lot of water neutrality and weakness on this team, and I don't think any of these Pokemon want to get burned at all.
No, not at all. That is one of the big downsides of running a sand team, is almost all, if not all of them, are going to be physical attackers. And I mean, looking at Spootman's team, aside from Cradily, please prove me wrong.
Yeah. So he's going to be relying a lot on Cradily. He's going to be relying a lot on Dracozolt. Now, to his benefit, as far as like resistant immunities go, Eva's doing a bit better, but not like crazy better. And one of the things that is nice about Vincent's choice of like aggro Pokemon is that, there is fire coverage here, and particularly there is special fire coverage. Dracozolt and Mega Garchomp, if you remember last week, do notably run sometimes special fire moves.
Yeah. And they run it pretty effectively, too.
Yeah, they're good.
Also, I did look it up. It did get close combat this time around.
Oh, cool. All right, well, there you go.
Yep.
So, yeah, for the longest time, I'm pretty sure Scizor would run through fire, but now we know. Now we know better.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and we'll watch how this plays out. We'll see if that Rotom gets some play. We'll see how Cradily does, and just in general, we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Immediately starting off with Rotom and Wisping makes sense.
Yep. It's not super surprising.
Yeah, just immediately trying to burn the first thing that comes out, and smartly, Vincent does bring out the Cradily, so that way his special attacker gets burned instead.
A little ambitious of Eva to go for the Volt Switch, knowing that that's a Terra Ground Cradily, but he doesn't pop it there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're noticing Como is taking Sandstorm damage, which means it's not Overcoat, which is pretty surprising, because that is, a pretty solid ability for this setup. And also, no Drain Punch going instead for close combat, excuse me.
Yeah, kind of surprising considering how effective Drain Punch is to this team in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, with that, I mean, like, hey, you for sure kill Cradily even after Terra.
Yeah.
And
Spootman does, at least have like that Rocky helmet in the back that manages to take it down without it going just nuts into the team for another 2 turns.
Yeah.
But you see Dracozolt gets chunked so hard by Whimsicott, and now, I mean, show me the Bullet Punch switch in.
None.
Well,
there's not one.
It's a little easier to switch into it if she doesn't Mega Evolve, which she did not do, and should have definitely done. Also, classic, double dip Season 8 moment with that Fire Punch burn, because, like, why not?
Yeah. I will never understand 10% this season. It's not real.
It's not real. It's just not. I actually, a statistician would look at this and be, we need an astrophysicist on this stat.
Yeah. Just the most bullshit status conditions ever this season.
Well, you see that it doesn't even really stop because, Vincent had used up his Terra on Cradily there to really no effect and left himself wide open to taking 4 times effective Earthquake. So even burned, it was still a 2-shot.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You see Rotom still in play in these last 2, and suddenly this looks like actually very dire for Spootman.
Yeah, no, like, both of his Pokemon are burned at this point. Head Smash, like, that should be doing so much, but it's just doing so little now.
Yep. And then, short of, missing a Will-O-Wisp here, this is going to be really hard for Garchomp to overcome.
Yeah.
But of course, for once, the miss does not pan out that way, and we see Garchomp does get some extra credit with a crit poison jab.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe wasn't super necessary. Like, he probably would have been fine without it, but, just kind of interesting to note. And also, this burn just barely allowing Heatran to live, gets a crit in return, and the burn damage is just gonna do it.
Yeah. And with that, Eva takes it over Vincent, 2-0.
Yeah, and that's a pretty shocking upset. Again, the only other person in this division that's been able to do it was Metropic of the Bekasi Bisharps, and, again, like, really, it was just, Sub-Salic, Belly Drum, Como went crazy into this team. It did a lot of good work, even though it could have done more work with Drain Punch, and Overcoat, and it didn't even need either of those things. We didn't even need to see, like, a Mega Evolved Scizor, right? We didn't need to see any real like specialty stuff, and even burned Donphan got its value. So really, Eevee just looked like she was in the driver's seat the whole time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Navigated sand, no problem. The Pokemon may not have, but Eevee did have her safety goggles on.
That's true. Hey, there you go.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, it was really textbook, to be honest. I mean, I was surprised to see Tran live that earthquake, but even burn, man, like that burn just does such a gnarly amount of damage into Spookman's team, and it's just like it was so hard to manage. Like, oh, I have to keep this thing alive for Scizor. I can't switch this thing into a Moonblast. It was really tough. Like, I don't know how I really would have changed what Spookman actually clicked beyond just not tearing the Cradilly there.
Yeah, I do think if Aggron had Terra'd instead, it could have been a little bit different, but that's a coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Right.
And even then, don't know how different it would have looked. But that's in the past. We look forward to the future now. In the future has Cabral, coach of the Slinging Aegislashers, versus Metropic, coach of Bekasi Bisharps.
And that's a big one. This is a little bit storied. This is Metropic's first season. Cabral, obviously no stranger to the league, but Metropic is one of Cabral's brings this season, and he, they, not to give the game away, but there's, they have their peers in, like, the kind of video content that they create, speaking euphemistically, about, like, the PMB projects that they both do. So, it's fun to see them kind of face off, and especially with the amount of playoffs implications this deep in, like week 7, especially coming off that rough 6-0 from Vincent last week. Cabral's got to show no mercy to his buddy Metropic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Metropic desperately wants to win this because if they do, this does give them a better shot at getting into playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Right now, his spot is very contested by Anchor, who is projected by Seed to probably win their final week match, and they have a pretty comfortable differential window. So if Matt wants any chance of making it into the playoffs, he's going to have to win this. It doesn't have to be like a crazy good win, but it needs to be a win.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing Cursula off the bench. That's fun.
Yeah, no, we were talking about in Skull Division, but a lot of people brought their last Pokemon on week 7, something they had not brought prior to any other match this season so far. So it's really nice to see people pulling out one last little trick just to either secure their spot in playoffs or get them into playoffs.
Yeah. And you see, I just look, we're brothers of the Coral, we're Coral comrades, Metropic and I, because obviously he's got the grown-up version of my little Galarian Corsola, so I'm always gonna, tugs at my heartstrings. I feel paternal instinct towards Corsola as my son. But yeah, I mean, looking at this from an actually competitive standpoint, Shedinja seems like a bit of a risky bring here.
Yeah, I mean, you got Volcarona, you got Cursola, you got Hisuian Samurott. You have a lot of things that love to just click any super effective move into a bug and ghost.
Right, and there's spammable moves too. Like, you always want to be hitting stuff like Fiery Dance on Volcarona or Ceaseless Edge on Hisuian Samurott. So it's not even a matter of reading the Shedinja switch in. It's more like Shedinja's getting preemptively punished by all these Pokemon doing the thing they already wanted to be doing.
Mm-hmm. And even in the case of you can play mind games with Hisuian Zoroark, that's only really going to work against Cursola. It's not going to work against Volcarona, and it's not going to work against Samurott either.
Right.
And that's not even equating for some of the other Pokemon that can just get a random Crunch or a Dark Pulse or Shadow Ball. But I think that's about it for the analysis. I'm ready to get in. I'm ready to dig my fingers into this match.
Let's jump in. I think that Cabral's got some cool stuff on his team. I like the Terra Dragon Arboliva, and we'll hopefully see it in action. Although that is a pretty ballsy immediate switch in on Volcarona.
Yeah, no, I do not want to come in raw against a Volcarona with my poor little grass.
Yeah.
But going into the Terra Dragon, I mean, like, it all of a sudden, like, now, okay, I'm chilling, I'm living.
There you go.
And it's huge Earth Power snipe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then
Unfortunately,
it's just faster. It's like the only thing ever that's gonna be outspeeding something, you know?
Yep.
Usually you don't see aggro going first.
Yeah. Which I agree, like, just going for the Earth Power first, not trying to click Leech Seed, you just want this thing to die immediately, but unfortunately it's, you know, it's running just enough speed to be able to outspeed Arboliva.
And it just so happens to have Dragon Tail as its fourth, which is a very unorthodox, especially with a Rest Talk set, which usually is going to be like Rest, Sleep Talk, Setup Move, Attacking Move.
Hey, wait a second.
Hey, that's not Harito's pineapple! What did you do to my drink?
Hey, wait a second. Morpeko can't learn Flamethrower. They must be using Illusion to trick.
Well, Morpeko switches into Morpeko. Now, this one's the real one because it has, you know, the aura change or whatever it's called.
Hunger Switch,
Hunger Switch,
yeah.
there you go.
Which, honestly, like, I like that little gimmick. You know, I like Morpeko's, like, the cover jib.
Yeah, Morpeko's fun. I've drafted it before. I really liked it. But yeah, this, you know, you are kind of inviting Cursula in, especially under Trick Room. This thing goes kind of crazy. It's got a very high special attacking stat.
Yes.
Destiny Bond is hilarious, because even if that did kill you, like, that is such a bad trade for you. Like, your Cursula is worth more than that Shedinja, man. I'm just gonna be honest. So,
yeah, 100%.
you should have just attacked it, I think.
God, I wish Cursula was better. I love this thing.
Again, I love my boy Cursula. Come on!
10% is not real.
It doesn't even matter, because, like, he can thaw himself with Scald, but, like, just the principle of it, man.
Also insane to me that, like, yo, this is a Vaporeon. This is a typically very special, bulky Pokemon, and it did how much?
Look,
just like random Shadow Ball.
Cursula's got a crazy high special attack stat, and it had that +1 from Meteor Beam, so it was doing quite well. And that's Cecil's Edge.
Yeah.
Whew. I don't know if the crit mattered, but I'm kind of inclined to think it did, or at least it was close.
Yeah, if it did matter, like it might have been like a better chance at a roll, essentially.
Yeah. You see him again. He's playing a bit passive here. He does a parting shot instead of going for like an aura wheel or something. He wants to keep his Morpeko alive, which does make sense. But knowing how this kind of ends, like we're looking at his team, he's very softened up, and Torterra with Shell Smash is looking pretty threatening at this point.
Yeah, especially if it does have like any sort of coverage to be able to hit Shedinja here.
Yeah, because it could be doing like loaded dice Rock Blast or something. Like that is not an uncommon Torterra set.
Exactly. Getting Rapid Spin off just to be able to get rid of these hazards. I love that play.
Up.
Yeah. And then taunting, so no more hazards can come up. I love that as well. Honestly, like going for an aura wheel there would have been kind of nice because you do get a speed buff.
Yeah, and you're the dark type, so even if Torterra comes in, like you're still gonna be able to get damage. And that extreme speed, if he he's gonna have to start making some reads because Metropic keeps getting all these hazards up for free. Cabral's not putting a lot of pressure on him. And as far as the chip game goes, I mean, usually Cabral's winning this with like a wish passing Vaporeon, but Vaporeon's gone, man. A lot of his stuff is going to like 50 to 10% at this point, and Metropic has still got some very threatening looking sweepers in the back, and another spin block. Well, I guess that's the first spin block, but, again, like, Cabral's just kind of getting red to shit right now. It's really bad.
Yep. Nope. Going for the aura wheel, not able to get it off. And now we get to click parting shot. But I think at this point, now we see the Shell Smash come out, and it's looking kind of dire.
Yeah, if this thing has coverage for Shedinja, which it does.
Yep.
And it's fully accurate, too. It's not even a question of, like, oh, he's going to miss the Rock Blast. It's just Crunch is going to do it.
And its defense drop is not like high enough to be able to like kill with extreme speed here.
Yep.
So we're just gonna Earthquake, and at this point, I mean, show me your Earthquake, Switchwind.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't really matter at this point. Like, even with the debuff that Grassy Terrain gives Earthquake, I'm positive that it at +1 it still, well, I don't know if I'm positive that it still kills Zydog, but, you know, again, it's kind of a niche interaction to be looking out for, and at this point, you know, especially because he's not using something like Headlong Rush, which would open up his defenses more, make him maybe more susceptible to, like, the crit E-speed or something. Torterra, I mean, just Cabral had exhausted all of his options by the time this thing came out, and it looked like a very, you know, textbook sweep from Metropic.
Yeah. You know, it started off as like a fairly slow game, just getting up hazards, spreading status conditions to each other. But Metropic was just slowly whittling down Cabral, whereas Cabral was just playing very passive, and it got to the point where, you know, an opening presented itself. Torterra just clicked the funny button, and here we are, another 6-0 for Cabral. Or, well, another 6-0 against Cabral,
yeah.
Say. Yeah, into Cabral, I should say.
Which, that stings. Dropping 12 diff in 2 weeks is like, yikes!
Yeah. That, you know, that takes, what was before, like, a decent enough, like, lead early on. Like, you know, we went into, week 5, you know, sitting at...
4-1 plus 12.
Yeah, 4-1 plus 12, and now all of a sudden it's week 7, and we are now 4-2, or no,
4-3.
So 4-3, 0.
Yeah, dead even 0, which is like tough. It's good that he had such a good record going into these last 2 weeks. It does give him kind of the flexibility to at least not go negative, but now he is in huge trouble because he's exposed himself now quite a lot. With Metropic winning by such a wide margin, that has shifted everything around very meaningfully. It's now basically up to Anchor. If Anchor wins their match, then they get in. If Anchor loses their match, then they don't get in. And if Anchor gets in, Cabral's out. If Cabral's in, Anchor's out. That's just literally the lay of the land. So,
yep.
You know, to completely 180 veer and not talk about that for a little while, we're going to go watch the only other match, which now just is for seeding purposes. We have got Kemeth of the Washed Up Wishiwashis fighting against Snake of the Miami Milotics.
Yeah, which after seeing Vincent's loss, depending, you know, if Kemeth does win this, depending on how well he wins this, he could actually overtake on first place.
That is true. He has to win by either a 5-0 or a 6-0, but he does actually stand a chance to snipe that first place finish, especially now that Cabral is thoroughly out of the running for that. It's really up to Kemeth to see if he can topple Vincent just in the nick of time at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, with web support, like, honestly, like, you get rid of Dragonite, and Crocodile goes kind of hard into this entire team.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely looking at it, I think the matchup looks pretty strong for Kemeth. I think that, you know, we haven't seen a lot of great stuff out of Chi-Yu quite yet.
Yeah.
You know, Dragonite is here, which I think is very brave given the just makeup of Kemeth's team. You know, we've seen Icy Wind Keldeo. Obviously, Baxcalibur is Baxcalibur. You know, it's very often you're going to be seeing like a Dragon Dance Icicle Spear set, which could just break right through multiscale. You know, a Quiver Dancing Rabombi could put that thing in danger. Even like a Low Kick's First Impression or Sucker Punch can break the multiscale if it needs to.
Yeah.
So I think Dragonite's a very brave bring here.
Yeah, I agree. Conversely, I mean, like, Golden Go, like, it does look great. It gets, like, a really good amount of coverage to be able to hit Keldeo. You know, nothing on Kemeth's team, except for Electros, likes to even think about making it rain. And then Shadow Ball can at least, like, hit Electros for neutral damage. And then Belly Bolts, you know, as long as you can get Crocodile out of the way, can be a decent wall.
Yeah, I don't hate it, especially into something like Keldeo. You know, Belly Bolt is shockingly bulky, and it's really nice, especially into something like Low Kicks, where, like, if you're baiting those U-turns or those first impressions or whatever, you know, you're threatening that static paralysis, and that static paralysis has done a lot of work for him in past games.
It's unfortunately true. Yep, not running Electromorphosis, you know, does open up the static.
He's not one of the Bayou folks, I'll tell you that. He likes to run it static style, not Electromorphosis style.
Listen, I'm a simple country boy. I know what my people are like.
Yeah. So really, I think I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking, you know, Snake definitely wants to keep webs from going up because he's probably not got a great way to deal with them, and they look very threatening from Rabambi into this team. He's got a lot of defensive bulk. He might be able to get off some kind of sweep with like a Dragon Dancing Scrafty or maybe even a Dragonite under the right circumstances, but he's got to be very cognizant of Kemet's pieces.
Yeah. Let's see how cognizant he is.
Hello, Rideshare. Goodbye, Rideshare.
Goodbye, Rideshare. Yeah, Rideshare did not want to take a random Thunderbolt. I do not blame them.
Also, we're talking about those, secondary effects. I mean, peep the instant Spadef drop.
Yep. Dragon Tail just to get some random switch out, and then
I'm just the Muddy Water. That's pretty brave.
Big Muddy Water miss there.
Very
and
brave.
then a accuracy drop.
Because you're exposing yourself to an Earthquake there very early, but right now, Snake is in the driver's seat. I mean, he's just getting, the accuracy drops, he's landing the Toxic, he's just getting everything he needs. It's just a matter now of, can you handle what's on your field? Like, the rocks and the webs are now going to be pretty hazardous if he can't defog them away.
Mm-hmm. He opts to get up his own rocks, and
gets
just catches a Hydro Bump.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, like, you don't want something else to get toxic. You might as well just like go out into Rabambi, let it get toxic a little bit, and just get like a random like Moonblast or Bug Buzz just for chip.
And that special attack drop, which again is somewhat relevant. Although I mean, this thing would get run out anyway by the web's speed decrease. And Kemet, I mean, compelled to keep clicking Hydro Pump, it keeps hitting them. That's a very stressful position to be in.
I hate having to click Hydro Pump or Focus Blast or Blizzard outside of Hail.
Yeah.
Sorry, Snow. Yeah.
Can't have Hail anymore because of Woke. Whatever.
That got me way more than it should have.
Sorry, I felt like it was crickets for a second. I wish there was more to really say, but it's been a very standard looking game so far. We see a preemptive encore from Scrafty to try and force like an encore into something like First Impression, but Kemet doesn't bite, instead just goes right for the U-turn or switches right out. And you see even Kelvio earlier didn't flip turn on the Belly Bolt because he didn't want to risk proccing the static. So Kemet is really keeping his head on straight here and playing it like very textbook.
Yeah, no, at this point, this is just good old vanilla Pokemon, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy.
Yep.
Just sending your Mons out and just clicking those good old-fashioned buttons.
Yeah, Rocky Helmet breaks the multi-scale as well, so now Dragonite is exposed to whatever comes next. Belly Bolt's so bulky!
I know, I love it. I love my little mans.
Yep. Solid read. But yeah, Kemet is A-okay with just going for a Toxic on this thing, putting it on a timer, because he knows he's got the immediate pressure to back it up. And he hits the Icicle Crab. Of all things, I mean, he's hit so many inaccurate moves, and he's hit all of them.
Yeah, he has. And that Baxcalibur is going to be able to come out and just clean up, giving Kemet a nice 3-0.
Yep. Nice, easy breezy 3-0, which keeps him pretty close to the top of the division. Doesn't quite eke out Spoopman for top spot, but got him pretty close, and we'll come back around to that once we get to the bracket. But really, yeah, I mean, I think that, Kemet had all the right abusers. He was very prepared for what Snake had on the team, and yeah, there's not much else to say about it, just to send him packing with a dirty 30.
Yeah. Absolutely. With that, though, we only have one more match, and that is Mekara, coach of the Eevee Inc. versus Anchor, coach of the DuDanishDunsparce. This is Anchor's arguably most important match right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not crazy uncommon for the stakes to become so black and white, but I don't know, I think there's a certain clarity and intrigue to being faced with the most simple coin flip, like if you win, you're in, if you lose, you're out. Diff be damned, who cares about seeding? If you beat Eevee Inc., you make it to playoffs. If you don't, you don't, and there's just no negotiating. Now, before, earlier in the week, before we got the results from Metropic versus Cabral, Anchor still did actually have the wiggle room to lose this, as long as they only lost it by a little bit, and Metropic had lost by, pretty much any margin or whatever, like you would have seen Anchor in over Metropic. But because Metropic not only won, but 6-0'd Cabral, that made this one a lot more straightforward and a lot more tense for Anchor.
Yeah. Now this is do or die. Like, you have to win this match, or you just plain and simply are not getting the playoffs. You don't even have to win by much, because Cabral got 6-0'd. His differential is currently sitting at 0, which means as long as you win by 1 point, thanks to Anchor having like a high diff, you still just get in the playoffs.
That's right.
Just by default.
And we're seeing kind of the ultimate version of the Eevee Inc. team here. You know, again, we're seeing 3 Eeveelutions, Mega Gyarados, Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and Ditto. It's pretty much just the standard at this point.
Meanwhile, from Anchor, you see God.
It's Flittle! Wow! So Flittle's pretty... I wanted to say Flittle's pretty good. I think that Flittle is a little slept on, and I know that from the perspective of people who've screamed about this in the past, like, you know, like when my brother was practicing against Anchor, for example, I know I heard some grumbling about Flittle, because Flittle does actually have the potential to steal a few wins here. And we see a Terra Dark Flittle, you can already imagine how that might be related to some Ditto counterplay, so we might be seeing Flittle as like a bait for Ditto to come in and then be like, oh wait, all I can hit is a Psychic move into a Dark-type Flittle. And then that might just give Anchor, you know, the turn that they need to get another Calm Mind or whatever.
Yeah.
But any success from Flittle is predicated on the idea that Mega Gyarados is out of the picture.
Yes, with Mega Gyarados still in the picture, it simply cannot be done with stored power. But, you know, we have a lot of things to threaten out. We have Sceptile, we have Grimmsnarl, we have Toxicroak. We just need to be careful of, one, playing around the fact that we need to keep in mind when it's going to Terra. And two, we do need to be careful that because it has Mold Breaker, it does go through Dry Skin, which we know Toxicroak has ran in the past.
Right. Which is something that's easy to forget, and something, you know, spoiler alert, like a lot of people did forget about that going into this match, so I think, yeah, looking at Anchor's team, it's pretty straightforward, just, you know, Shed Tail pass out of Sceptile into Swampert most of the time, and maybe if you're feeling a little funky, and you got a good opportunity for it, maybe into Flittle, and just see if you can't mount a solid setup sweep with Flittle, or just kind of old reliable, you know, Mega Swampert doing Mega Swampert things.
Yep. Let's get into it.
We see another, like, very passive start from Mechira here. Jolteon in very early. It shows it has a screen, which I think is very interesting. I don't think you generally see Eeveelutions being run as screen setters. But Jolteon's got it both.
Yeah, no. Being able to set up both Reflect and Light Screen on your own side of the field, very nice. Anchor just getting a nice little bulk up just so, you know, we can just click Waterfall or Earthquake and just do massive, like, even behind Reflect, like, look how much damage that did.
Yeah.
And even behind Light Screen, look how much damage that did.
Yep. Now, that is a tragic Power Whip miss for Mechira. He's not massively punished for it, but it does give Anchor an opportunity to keep the Swampert alive. And also, he hasn't been setting up his Mega, but we see it there a few turns deep. Now, we see a pretty bad blunder here from Anchor, going for the parting shot into Mega Gyarados, which is a dark type, so it does make Prankster not work. And then we see the second sort of knowledge check, which is, as you said before, that Mold Breaker stopping the Dry Skin from activating.
Dry Skin. Yeah, and then a huge Power Whip hit, even through Reflect, that's still going to kill Politoed. And it's just barely able to live the Earthquake.
Yeah, Anchor losing a ton of momentum here. And just the cherry on top, that crit Waterfall brings this just below the range of where you would be if you wanted to get off a Shed Tail, which is now also off the table.
You know, going for Drain Punch just to try and get a little bit of chip, get some HP back, but opting to click Freeze Dry, and at this point, you know, we see Flittle coming out, attempting to get something going.
Yep. And we see a Sing, which is kind of interesting out of Glaceon, and we see it connect here. It is a sound move, so it goes behind the substitute. And
yeah.
Yep, Trailblaze breaks the sub. Doesn't quite keep pace with the speed boosts, but because Flittle didn't wake up in 1, the Alluring Voice is enough to take it out. And that leaves Grimmsnarl versus 3, and because this thing's already up to +1 speed, it is able to seal the deal.
Yep. Giving Eevee Inc. Not 1, not 2. Or actually, wait, no. No, yeah. 3 wins for
3
this
wins.
season.
He turned it around. Week 4 was a low point, but he ended up bouncing back with those last 3 games. And, man, what a volatile... Because really, I don't think you could have expected the results that we ended up getting out of this week. That is a huge overperformance from Eevee Inc. for these last 3 weeks. Especially, the performances from Cabral and Anchor really shook up what the division was projected to look like, because I would have, very much expected Anchor to be in the top 4. But Eevee Inc, man, he turned on the gas right at the last minute, and we ended up in a very... And Mitropic as well, in tandem, just totally upended this division just right at the very end.
If you had told me a week ago that this is what these standings would look like for Magma, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah, and yet here we are, and I'd love for you to take the top half if you'll have me take the bottom.
Absolutely. So in first place of Magma, we've got the Heerlen Hawluchas standing at 5-2 with a differential of 10. We've got the washed up Wishiwashis in second, also with 5-2, but with a differential of 9. We've got Bekasi Bisharps in third place with 4-3 with a differential of 8. And then we've got the Slinging Aegislashers in fourth with 4-3 and a differential of 0.
Going into the bottom half, we've got Anchor of the DuDanishDunsparce at a 3-4 +2. Then Eevee Inc. at 3-4 -3. Puppytown Ponytas at 2-5 -10. And Snake of the Miami Milotics at 2-5 -16. Rounding out the Magma division with, again, very aesthetic numbers coming out of the Magma division on the whole. 5-5, 4-4, 3-3, 2-2.
Yeah, no, very fun.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker, man, for Anchor especially. Just like rug pulled right out underneath them. They were looking very, very promising going into this week. Yeah. But great news definitely for Kenneth and especially for Mitropic. And I know Cabral, breathing a sigh of relief because he was looking seriously periled there for a second.
Yeah, Cabral definitely very happy to still be able to make playoffs, even if only by the skin of his teeth. And something else I want to bring up is like all of the new players of this division really put in like the work and really like made their names known for this first season. Like obviously like some players got a rocky start. Eevee Inc. definitely did not have the strongest of starts, but they had a fantastic finish.
Yeah.
Especially with a team that a lot of people like looking at it like and again like no shade, but like you draft primarily Eeveelutions, a lot of people are just gonna like write that off.
Yeah, I mean, he burnt 4 points on 3 points, on a Terra Captain Eevee that never even came. It was it was definitely an inspired team comp, but it ended up working out fine, just right there at the end. And I think we ended up with something that looked, like for a while, this division was all over the place, shifting up and down, but the way that it kind of ended up was more or less how we seeded it to go.
Yeah.
With, I think, the only exception being that Cabral was seated above Mitropic, I think. So, but as far as the top 4 advancing, it kind of all worked itself out by the end to be closer to what we expected.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
But that's about that. And as much as I'd love to get into talking about the playoffs bracket, which we do have and has already been announced, so it's very titillating to talk about that. We don't want to spoil any of the other division analyses for anybody who hasn't seen them. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't yet, go check out the Aqua Division recap with Cabral and Aurora. Go check out the Rocket Division recap with myself and Cabral. Or check out the Skull Division recap with Nick or Aurora. And Aurora. They're both there, I'm told. Cabral's there.
Most
right?
of the time.
No,
Sometimes.
no, Nick's is there. Nick and Cabral. I don't know.
No, it's Nick and Aurora.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything anymore.
I don't retain enough knowledge of numbers to be able to carry like you or Aurora do.
Look, there is 1,020 something Pokemon in my brain. All right, like I have to. I don't have a lot of space for anything else.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about differential numbers.
So I also, I mean, I had to give up the numbers to remember the Pokemon names. So there's that.
That's fair.
Thank you all so much for joining us for Magma. It's been a hell of a division. Thank you, Nick, for co-hosting with me and for making these a joy to do.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'll see you on the battlefield, you little slut. We're gonna immediately fight round one of playoffs. So
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass.
Oh, awkward. Hashtag awkward.
the girls are fighting.
Like every other season.
I know, just like every other season. Well, no, last time I didn't make it to playoffs actually, so we didn't fight them. We just fought in division. So anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us. Check out the other recaps, and best of luck to our playoffs competitors.
Yep, and thank you all to all our players as well.
Yep. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
and thank you to the new players as well. This was a hell of a division and a hell of a season in general. So, very demanding of the new talent, and people definitely delivered. So now for real, 15th. Goodbye for real.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.